Hello and good evening. It's January 6th, 2025, and we're continuing our discussion collection, our Outside the Class series. This series, from the Bible Project, covers the entire TaNaK, also known as the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. Those source videos are available for your review. They're on TheDustyFeet.com in the Outside the Class section. Because the intent of Outside the Class is for you to listen to the in-class lecture first. That would be those short overview videos, and then we expand the conversation. We just try to keep these to about 15 minutes. Make them easy to catch up on. So we're on a quest, scroll by scroll, book by book, a journey through this collection, just maybe with a fun and different twist. Our hope with the Dusty Feet is to foster discussion and to help build and support communities. If you're not already connected to a community or just want to share and interact, this community has 4 primary ways to interact. 1. TheDustyFeet.com. That's our primary place to find everything. You are always free to comment. 2. Substack. Link is in the description below. It's designed around the written and spoken text. It's a place to connect to ourselves and others. 3. Facebook at The Dusty Feet. These videos and other videos are also available for comment and discussion. 4. And as always, you're welcome to send an email to bob@thedustyfeet.com. These places, they will be moderated and guidelines will be set to ensure healthy, safe discussion. And as always on The Dusty Feet, this is a place where we can safely explore the endless ways of God and the interconnection of His creation. Belief understandings may be challenged, divine misunderstandings may exist, and traditional teachings might falter as we pursue connection, context, and community with God and each other here in an environment of grace and love. And of course, before we forget, if you do find these kinds of podcasts useful, please, that is when you click that subscribe button. But those reminders, they're just there to help you. But also, if you think these might be useful to others, that is when you click that like button, because it is how YouTube chooses to share these to more people if they wish. Remember, in this series, we're covering the entire TaNaK, right, the Old Testament, but we want to do it in the original order of the Hebrew Scriptures. And we also need to remember the videos we're going to discuss, they're always just the tip of an iceberg, right? They're part of our learning series I highly recommend. All of them can be found on the Bible Project's website. Link to that is in the description. Because we're going to ask many questions about all kinds of things. The answers? We'll see. So Samuel, Second Scrolls is our part 8. Yeah. So like we ended last week, we are approaching the new era of king, as David is king over Israel. But I want us to pause a second and pay attention to some interestingly used terms. I suppose at times we might often glean over the terms, not really give them another thought, but we know David is king. We've heard that term, David is king over the children of Israel, over the entire land now, yeah. Yet we also have a term used when God is referring to David and maybe how he's viewed in reference to God, right? As prince. Because that's a term that's one's noted that they still are subject to a higher authority to them. So maybe that's just something to ponder. Let's move forward. Chapter 7. It begins with he has a yearning. I could say it's a very good one to give God a house, and we see that God, though, has a thought of his own, a much longer view that he seems to have in mind, and he promises that, looking back, we not only acknowledge that, but we also see through the messiness of that God still keeps all his promises. We need to remember, though, there's a difference between God going along with things, even causing things or choosing things, and then when God makes a promise, a covenant, right? We need to pay attention to this because we're going to see both of these in chapter 7. At the beginning, verse 1, now, when the king was settled in his house, and the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies around him, and the king said to the prophet Nathan, see now, I'm living in the house of cedar, but the ark of God stays in a tent. And Nathan said to the king, go, do all you have in mind, for Yahweh is with you." But that same night, the word of Yahweh came to Nathan, "Go, tell my servant David, thus says Yahweh, are you the one to build me a house to live in? I have not lived in a house since the day I brought up the people of Israel from Egypt to this day. I've been moving about in a tent and a tabernacle. Wherever I've moved, about all the people of Israel, did I ever speak a word with any of the tribal leaders of Israel, whom I commanded to shepherd my people, saying, why have you not built me a house of cedar? Now therefore, thus you shall say to my servant David, thus says Yahweh of hosts, I took you from the pasture, from following the sheep, to be prince over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you went. I've cut off all your enemies from before you, and I will make for you a great name, like the name of the great ones of the earth. And I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them, so that they may live in their own place and be disturbed no more. And evildoers shall afflict them no more, as they formerly did. For the time that I appointed judges over my people Israel, I will give you rest from all your enemies. And moreover, Yahweh declares to you that Yahweh will make you a house. When your days are fulfilled, you lie down with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring after you, who shall come forth from your own body, and I will establish his kingdom. And he shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be father to him, he will be a son to me. And when he commits iniquity, I will punish him with the rod, such as the mortals use, with blows inflicted by human beings. But I will not take my steadfast love from him, as I took it away from Saul, but whom I put away before you, right? Your house and your kingdom shall be made sure and forever before me. Your throne shall be established forever. In accordance with all these words and with all this vision, Nathan spoke to David. So this prophet, first he said, go ahead. And he said, no, wait. God has another take on this. I'm not entirely sure if that's good or bad. Was Nathan overstepping his bounds, or was it just that at this time it was a normal prophet-like advice? It kind of made sense. Well, God needed to step in this time. There's no way to see that Nathan could understand this long-term view of God. He didn't understand David's lineage issues. Saul was appointed, chosen, yet not with the same lineage promise, right? It was a covenant with David. That's different, right? David realizes that too. Because in the prayer that followed, in that prayer, we've even acquired a few phrases, a few verses from this for songs or quotes, yeah? But this entire prayer, this was the one that seems to lend credence to the thought, this is a man after God's own heart. It resounds in this response to him. It starts in verse 18. Then King David went in, sat before Yahweh, and said, who am I, O Lord God, and what is my house that you have brought me thus far? And yet this was a small thing in your eyes. O Lord God, you have spoken also of your servant's house into the distant future. May this be the instruction for the people, O Lord God. What more can David say to you? For you know your servant, O Lord God, because of your promise, and according to your own heart, you have wrought all this greatness so that your servant may know it. Therefore, you are great, O Lord God, for there is no one like you. There is no God beside you. According to all that we've heard in our ears, who is like your people Israel? Is there another nation on earth whose God went to redeem it as a people and make a name for himself, doing great and awesome things, driving out nations and their gods before your people, whom you redeemed yourself from Egypt? And you established your people Israel for yourself to be your people forever. and you, O Yahweh, became their God. And now, O Yahweh, as for the word that you've spoken concerning your servant and concerning his house, confirm it forever. Do as you have promised. Thus, your name will be magnified forever in the saying, Yahweh of hosts is God over Israel, and the house of your servant David will be established before you. For you, O Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, have made this revelation to your servant, saying, I will build you a house. And therefore, your servants found the courage to pray this prayer to you. And now, O Lord God, you are God, and your words are true, and you have promised this good thing to your servant. Now, therefore, may it please you to bless the house of your servant, so that it may continue forever before you. O Lord God, you have spoken, and with your blessing shall the house of your servant be blessed forever. God's endearing promise with a much longer lineage view, right? It won't be void of challenges. We're very well aware that on our part, we can still strain any covenant, yet God will remain faithful. We have the luxury of a backward view. And then in chapter 8, we get a recall of battles. We get battles won, spoils, servants acquired, alliances made. And along with that, we get a little recounting of King David's advisory board, the officials in his house. And as we get to chapter 9, then begins a rather interesting query from David. It starts in 1, and David asked, Is there still anyone left of the house of Saul to whom I may show the kindness for Jonathan's sake? Now there was a servant in the house of Saul whose name was Ziba, and he was summoned to David, and the king said to him, Are you Ziba? And he said, At your service. And the king said, Is there anyone remaining of the house of Saul to whom I may show the kindness of God? And Ziba said to the king, There remains a son of Jonathan. He is crippled in his feet. And the king said to him, Where is he? And Ziba said to the king, He's in the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, at Lodabar. We met this lad back in chapter 4, right? In 4:4. Saul's son Jonathan had a son who was crippled in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. His nurse, who had picked him up and fled, and in her haste to flee, it happened that she fell, and he became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. Man, I've tried to say that 3 times fast, and I can't say it once fast. Mephibosheth, right? But this is going to begin a series of events. And these are the ones that are going to affect David for a long time during his reign over the kingdom. So it'll be very interesting to watch this as it unfolds. So thanks again for being with us tonight on another episode of Outside the Class with the second scroll of Samuel on the Dusty Feet.